We've been looking at how to generate yield for a long time on this channel. DeFi got a little bit saturated, yields are not very high again. So now the trend is to go back into DeFi and traditional finance, DeFi, CeFi, to get additional levels of yield. And today we got a sponsor, CoinDepo. They're offering these insane rates, so that's 24% a year for Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDT, and other coins. The rate depends on which coin you're looking at, but the yields are quite high. So 18% for USDT. The big ones, Bitcoin, you get 12.
So I want to address the elephant in the room. With numbers like these, we've seen the collapse of DeFi, CeFi in the last run.
That's why I wanted to just take a look at the strengths and the limitations here. Just chat to you guys about what we personally think. Again, none of this is financial advice because such hybrid systems are extremely competitive. And I think the best one to compare will be Nexo. Nexo has very, very good rates as well, but it's limited in terms of which countries are available. But CoinDepo, they've been operating since 2021 and they have fewer limitations. But I do want to address the elephants in the room because every time you're dealing with new tech, especially tech integrated with traditional tech, right? Because they're kind of a platform that has crypto, audits from Hacken, which is great, using Fireblocks to save your funds, which is great, but also integrating that with traditional finance, doing microloans, doing traditional investors, right? And when that gets involved, that means the money moves out of crypto. It's something that we cannot see.
I'm actually very curious, so let's break this down.
What does CoinDepo do? So basically, they're a deposit platform which allows compound rates. So basically what happens is that you have a portfolio, you can deposit different coins. So this one is primarily XRP based and Ethereum based, right? So you have different coins saved on there, and then you can view the APR. Okay, so you can actually deposit, withdraw the funds, and then you can earn as time progresses. So basically just deposit, or you can borrow with services like a borrowing lending platform. The issue is that when you borrow, and this is quite popular in crypto, like say for example you have Bitcoin, you have a lot of Bitcoin, but you don't have USDT, you have to pay this month's rent, but you don't want to sell your Bitcoin, you can borrow, etc. at different rates. So that's kind of what they're serving as a lending platform. This is where their kind of DeFi comes in, but of course they're integrating that with traditional finance, so microloans, etc., to get you additional yield on your money. So that's kind of the platform there, and then they can deposit, withdraw, and they can loan as well. So say for example you put in $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, you can borrow up to $50,000 worth of USDT, and you can repay that as a standard loan. So you don't need to have any sort of KYC or proof. Your Bitcoin is your proof.
I remember going to the Bitcoin conference, and a lot of these whales, when they come across borrowing and lending, they're always looking for a platform that offers using their Bitcoin as collateral to borrow stables, because they really don't want to sell their Bitcoin.
They don't. It made a lot of sense. We're crossing all-time highs for a long period of time. So it's kind of quite explanatory what they are. So basically, essentially a borrowing lending platform. Now, in terms of what they have, they're working with Fireblocks. So Fireblocks is very well known as an industry standard. They're what every big institution uses to protect their funds. On the crypto side, that's actually pretty good. So if they have funds, user funds in there, they can just keep it, fully deposit that, and that's fine. It's audited by Hacken, audited by CertiK. So in terms of hacks on the crypto side, again, the crypto side is good. I would say having two good audits, having Fireblocks, that actually makes sure where your money is. So if they just 100% just perform borrowing and lending, and we can transparently see what's happening, that's actually okay. The caveat here is when it comes to their traditional side. So what they do is on the traditional side, here's a little bit more detail on how they work, right? So there's a DeFi pool and a CeFi pool. Their traditional finance, they go for microcredits. They do the crypto credit card, which is coming soon. I'll talk about that. They also have a separate credit pool for something like real estate sector, tokenization, real sector. So microcredit providers. So basically they take the funds and they put it into different pools, and these pools would be trying to generate more and more income. So it does make sense that there are microcredit providers and like real estate sectors that could very well perform very well, but it depends on how it's balanced. And this is where it's an incredibly complicated case where once it enters these pools,
Yeah.
right, effectively is the money utilized.
Yeah.
See, like for me, I honestly think Fireblocks is amazing, right? Fireblocks, you can 100% make sure that your money's there, but your money there doesn't mean it's generating money. It's got to be deployed somewhere to make money.
Yeah.
Right. And this is where things get very complicated. And I guess it's where it's actually quite hard to do more due diligence on them, because what we did was we actually asked Serve to quite aggressively look at what's being done. Right. So one of the questions that we asked is like, how are wallets being tracked here? You know, how identifiable do we do this? But the good and bad thing about Fireblocks is that Fireblocks has an anonymity layer. So no one's really done like complete. I mean, in terms of business model, it seems to make sense. So basically, what they're saying is that they lend to vetted borrowers at 20 to 30%. Users get paid 12 to 24%, and there's a spread margin to cover anything if anything's lost, right? So kind of like the Nexo model here, and it's actually generated quite high rewards. But obviously, there's operational risk here as well, right? So I feel like it's important to realize that it's not full deposit. Like your money is not just sitting there, okay? If money is sitting there, then, you know, it's not going to make any yield, right? But being in different pools, they can use these different pools to generate funds and then give the rewards back to users.
Yeah, I think another limitation here is it relies a lot on the number of borrowers.
Yeah, what you want is max number of crypto borrowers, okay? Because they're collateralized with crypto and they're overly collateralized, which means great, you know, default, you just take all their money, right? If they don't default, then you get earn yield, right? So that's great. I think that's where the risk comes in. So something like this, the way I would look at it is that it's not 100% decentralized finance because there's a centralized element. But that being said, you know, they have different pools to balance out the risk. CoinDepo also has one additional feature that I really do like, which is that they're integrating a credit card with the platform. So this actually serves as a way to store funds, make passive income, and they can spend the passive income. Pretty amazing for some people who want to prefer to be unbanked. It's almost like crypto.com, but then with higher rates because they have the CeFi element in there. So that's actually coming soon, and it's going to have Google Play and Apple integration. And lastly, in terms of what they have is that they have no fees on everything. No transfer fees, no annual fees, no liquidation fees, no exchange fees. So it's actually very clean in terms of what they offer. And this is probably possible if they have a very strong traditional backing. Use the CeFi element there. So obviously, we did do some research. The thing I want to point out is even when we did the research, it says proceed with extreme caution. These platforms are new. It's regulated in Panama and Singapore. So that's the two legal entities, but it's not a bank. So it's actually quite important to point this out that they are not licensed to be a bank. They are a platform. They're a borrowing and lending platform, and they involve both DeFi and traditional finance. So that being said, I think it's actually very powerful for someone who wants to just spend their extra earnings. The yield is very attractive, and they've been operating for quite a long time. When we came across the Reddit discussion about this, obviously people point out that because the yield is high, we need to be extremely suspicious. But that being said, of course, they started in 2021. They do have a legit business running. They're already starting the process of getting quite a few good legal jurisdictions to regulate this. They're in the process of getting BTC registration in El Salvador. They have a DASP, so Digital Asset Service Provider license in El Salvador. So basically, because it's so new and this concept is relatively new, the regulation on it is being made. And it's like we're kind of in that loading phase, I would say, with everything here. Might take a while. All right, so that's our take on here. It's a combination of both decentralized finance and traditional finance. So when you put money in there, it goes to different pools, and that's how they generate the funds. On the crypto side, they're really good. They have Fireblocks to protect user funds. They have both Certicate and Hacken in terms of security. So it really the risk really comes from the centralized element. And yet again, as here, it's to play at your own risk.
I agree with what Michael said. The crypto side is good, but the CeFi side is a black box. My suggestion here is with such a complex product, with their credit protocol, there's so many elements here from the CeFi pools as well. These are the parts that we can see, but these are the parts where we cannot see. So I think if they address that, then this would be a lot sexier.
Yeah. So with that, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, CoinDepo, for sponsoring this. See you guys next time.
Shanana!
Signing out. Peace.